Hey, folks, welcome to a new episode of the Whiskey Ring Podcast. Today we're going over to California. And I think this is as far north in California as we've gone for a distillery quite yet, about 2 hours north of the Bay Area. And we're talking to one of the earliest distilleries, one of the 177th distillery in the U.S., one of the OGs of the craft whiskey movement and craft brandy movement before that in the U.S. We're talking to Charbay Spirits. And with us, we've got 13th generation master distiller, a title he has earned. We'll talk about that too. Marko Karakasevic. How'd I do on that?
Hey, not bad, David. It's Karakasevic, but that's okay.
Karakasevic.
You know,
Ah,
we'll,
got the
we'll,
short O versus the long O. Almost.
we'll drink some more and it'll just be so much easier.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So Charbay they've been on my list for a long time to talk about, if for no other reason at first, because of your status as this early generation distiller here in the U.S., let alone your history going back to 1751 with the family. We'll talk about that. And then I was reached out to and got to talk and try the three whiskeys, the doubled and twisted, the R5, and the S releases. And I'm going to leave it for the conversation to take us there. But all whiskeys that I really, really enjoyed. High sevens, low eights for me. And if you get into the eights, that means it's experiential. So that is some good stuff we're talking about. So, Marko, let's start off with where we usually start off, which is the origin story.
Well, sure, David. We've been distilling in my family now for 13 generations, off and on. My dad came from Serbia, and in 1751, that's when my family was recognized as a distilling family over in Serbia in the Vojvodina Valley towards Hungary. And um the the definition of master distiller in my family has always been the ability to meet and exceed your instructor. So, from generation to generation, the master distiller was learning everything that was known before and taking that and hopefully progressing it. And my dad did that as well. And I learned how to distill from my dad. But before that, my dad was making mostly brandy and grappa and liqueurs, plum brandy as well, because there's plentiful plums in Serbia, walnuts in the Carpathian Mountains, and uh, one day in the late 60s, Tito came and nationalized my family's distillery and left my dad with like a hectare across the river. And he decided that it was time to move on. So he went to Germany and studied enology, became a certified enologist at the School of Enology in Geisenheim, and then jumped on a ship and made it over to Canada and did some jobs. And then someone brought him into Michigan, and that's where my mom's family is from. And so that's where they met. And then they had my sister, and then my dad got a job, a winemaking position, huge winery in the Central Valley of California. And then from there, my mom and dad would always drive up to Napa Valley in the early 70s, and they found a little cabin up on top of Spring Mountain and bought that acreage in 72. I was born in 73. And then we lived there. And then he was a winemaker for other wineries, consultant winemaker. And in the early 80s, he was a consultant winemaker for two wineries up in Mendocino County. And so um, that was the move. And in 83, after all the wines went dry from the 82 harvest and put in the barrel. He said, "That's it, I'm done." And my mom and dad started Charbay Winery and Distillery in 1983 up here in Ukiah. And so I was 10, and we had bought a still, brand new, Prulot Charente cognac still from the Prulot family in Cognac, France, and brand new, and brought it over and started making brandy. And that's when I started working with my dad. Being 10, I can remember my first jobs are not the glory jobs, but that's all right. And I was inside the still, cleaning overhead, cleaning the inside of the pot. And that's where I started. And since then, my wife and I, Jenny and I, have taken over Charbay. My parents are now retired. And so, we're a team of 6 people after 42 years, and we run a tight ship, and it's working. All these crazy times that we're having right now. I'm really thankful for, everything that we are doing and creating and making and keeping our team tight, and everything's good right now.
I mean, I'm
It's a pretty
happy to hear
crazy
that.
time. Yeah.
It is, and it's not every distillery. It's not most distilleries that are saying, "Hey, we're like it's crazy, but we're good.
Yeah,
We're doing it."
we do a lot of different things. Being a small distillery in California, we don't have the Type 74 craft license, even though we kind of started craft distilling like in the United States, but that's okay. We've done things and we do things that allow us to survive and make a living, and it doesn't we're not able to do the have the privileges of a Type 74 license, but that's okay. So it allowed us to, hey, we're going to import Tequila Tapatio from Mexico, which is a trophy, fantastic brand of tequila that our friend Carlos Camarena and his family produce. They're third generation. So we import that for the whole U.S. We bought our bottling line. We started needing a bottling line, like a real one, in 2000, and for our flavored vodkas that we were making. And that bottling line, I could bottle everything that we make at Charbay in about 4 days. So we have extra time on the line. So what do you do? Yeah, I contract bottle for companies who want to have a brand and say they want to bring in a tanker of rum from Guatemala and bottle it and have their own brand and not have a distillery. Well, that's what we do as well. So we're providing service through contract bottling, contract distilling as well, because this still is fantastic for us. It's not the biggest, it's slow, but it's okay. We're not after making 15,000 barrels a year and stuff. We're not looking to, I don't really want to grow that much. I like where we're at. And we make 10 to 12 barrels at a time. And that's nice. It's working. So it's been great. Like I said, everything's working, and we're doing good. We're doing pretty well right now.
Love it. So with your parents starting the distillery in '83, like I said, that's among the earliest of this wave of craft distilleries, and particularly ones that didn't start with whiskey but started with brandies and eau de vies, as you said. So you guys in '83, Germain Robin, um, you,
Yeah, Jimmy Band up here in Mendocino County was in 82.
right?
St. George down in Alameda, now Hangar One or St. George Spirits.
Mhm.
They were in 82 as well. And then we started in 83. And then there was also Steve up in Oregon, Clear Creek
Mhm.
Distillery as well. And so those were like the four in the U.S.
Hey, and as of this interview, I've now had three of the four on. So,
Uh,
Germain Robin, I'm coming for you. Uh,
oh yeah, yeah. Gallo bought
so
that. Oh
they did. That hasn't been an impediment to me in the past. Sometimes it's just persistence.
yeah.
Bother them enough, and they'll get on a call with you.
Hmm.
Uh, uh, I'm curious from the perspective of someone. You said you were 10 when the distillery started.
Hmm.
Uh, over the years, do you get the feeling that, as I said, these distilleries started more with brandy as opposed and eau de vie as opposed to whiskey? Was that more a function of just where the founders came from, Central Europe, France, as opposed to I don't know, Scots Irish coming over and starting these distilleries?
Probably. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
We're here in in wine country, so there's an abundance of fantastic grapes to be able to ferment and distill and make brandy. So it just made total sense. Um, I, when I was growing up, I was brewing beer and figuring out that the same two-row malted barley that I'm using is what they're using in large distilleries in the South, making whiskey. And so, but I had hops in mind. Like I made a nice Czech Pilsner, true lager. And I'm thinking, well, this has about 8% alcohol in it. It's two-row malted barley. It's beer. Why can't I distill this, make whiskey out of it, And my dad's like, that's not American whiskey, that's not what everybody's doing. And I'm like, yeah, I know. But that was in the 80s. Then uh, you jump to 99 and we got the opportunity, to take about 24,000 gallons of a Czech Pilsner from a microbrewery. And my dad and I double distilled it 24 hours a day for 3.5 weeks straight and made like 22 barrels of whiskey out of it. And we let it age. We put it in brand new American oak so it could have some type of an association that people could recognize because this whiskey was just completely different than everything else.
sure.
And so we put it in brand new American oak. And after 2 years, I was like, yep, it's ready. Let's find some. And I picked two barrels out and we bottled it full barrel strength and released the first of six releases of that lot throughout the years as the first Czech Pilsner whiskey that has been produced and bottled. Definitely in the United States. I'm sure someone might have maybe distilled some beer, over in Germany or something, but no one really had ever commercially done it,
Sure.
and it works really well. When you distill something, you concentrate the flavors, you concentrate the alcohol, by the distillation process. So, in my mind, if you're concentrating whatever you're distilling, if you distill something that's delicious, you're concentrating delicious. And I like that.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot of whiskeys out there that are selling the beer right next to the whiskey that it was made from. You know,
Yeah.
the beer was simply a tool to utilize the sugar from a source of grain to get it converted into alcohol and then run it through the still and then make the whiskey and put it in the barrel. So I really liked that. And at the same time there, we also started making fresh picked fruit flavored vodkas out of Meyer lemons, blood oranges, ruby red grapefruit from Texas. And so I was traveling all over the place doing that. By then I was 25 and launched those flavored vodkas in 98, actually, one year before. And within like 3, 4 years, there were a lot of flavored vodkas coming on all of a sudden.
Mhm.
And so I was like, well, I think it's time to get back into the still and start doing what I can do that not too many other people can do. Because not to say that everyone's using fresh picked fruit all the time to make their flavored vodkas and stuff, but using this still, it's a Charté still, and distilling bottle ready beers and stuff. That's what I wanted to do. So unfortunately, that brewery, Sonoma Mountain Brewery, that we got the Czech Pilsner from in '99, it had since closed down. So I was thinking to myself, well, what are we gonna do? Because I really like the concept of distilling bottle ready beer. I don't have a silo. I don't have a mash tun, I don't have the infrastructure, to brew beer, nor would I be able to get the pricing, dialed in. And so for me, it worked really well to contract with another with a microbrewery. And I like Racer 5 IPA, and that was, it's a big West Coast IPA. And so and they're like 22 minutes away. So I called and set up an appointment, a little tour, and went there for like 2 hours. Met everybody. Everyone's super nice. They're pro at the brewery. They totally know what they're doing, and it was like it was really cool. And 2 weeks later, I got a tanker, 6,500 gallons of Racer 5 IPA hops and CO2 and all straight from the tank. If it didn't go into the tanker, it would have went to the bottling line at Bear Republic. And so that's what we started doing. We started doing IPA. And my dad taught me how to run still 24 hours a day. And, we just don't stop until the tanks are dry because you don't want to oxidize the beer any more than you have to. And so you bang it out. And working at night all day, all night, working here and tasting beer, like 3 o'clock in the morning. I'd have other beers and stuff in the fridge. And then this one time I had some of the Big Bear Black Stout from Bear Republic. And I tried that and I had a Racer 5s next to it. So I just tried them side by side and the contrast was huge. And so, that to me meant that, yeah, these two beers are going to distill out and they're going to have totally different profiles in the form of whiskey. So I texted Roger over at Bear Public and said, hey, I think I want to distill a tanker of stout. Are you making that soon? He's like, oh, yeah, we're going to make that in about 2 weeks. I'm like, oh, that's perfect. And so sure enough, like in another 2 weeks, here comes the tanker truck of 6,500 gallons, like 203 barrels of stout. And I started making that. And my dad was not very thrilled about that decision because it's like nobody really likes surprises at the 6,500 gallon level. And I told him like, hey, it's going to be great because it tastes great in the bottle. The Racer 5 tastes great in the bottle. They both are going to be completely different whiskeys and completely different style. And sure enough, after we just distilled it, barrel aged it, bottled the first release, uh, I took my dad up to a friend's property up in Alaska, and we were fishing. And end of the day, smoking cigars, drinking stout whiskey, out in the middle of wilderness, Alaska. And he said, this is probably the best thing you've ever distilled. I'm like, oh my God, that was amazing. And so he loves the stout too. And it's very complex. We're on the second release of it that was aged for 48 months, 4 years in used French oak, 59-gallon barrels. I like bigger barrels. I don't like the small barrels. That doesn't work for me. Yeah, you can get massive extraction of oak color and flavor out of that barrel, and but how much is enough and how much is too much, and just because you can extract it doesn't mean that it's like, oh, it's extracted, it's ready to go, let's put it in the bar, let's put it in the bottle. You've got to let that flavor integrate. And I like bigger barrels because there's less extraction, and it showcases what's in the barrel more. And again, there's an abundance of wineries. We have friends who are making a lot of wine, and sometimes they use their barrels once and sell them. And so, a used barrel in the wine industry is something that is considered neutral in the wine industry because 13% alcohol wine has already extracted the color and flavor out of the barrel that 13% ABV can pull out. And also all the water in the wine, 77% of it on average, 74%, whatever the ABV of the wine is. But it's about 75, 76% of that is water, which means you're pulling out all the water soluble tannins out of the barrel from the wine. So what's left? All the top note spice and all the color from the toasting or charring from the barrel that was never extracted before. So for me, it worked out really well, and it's something that I really love to use.
I mean, I said before we went on air, but I'll repeat it here that I got to taste, thanks to Charbay, to Jenny and you for your generosity. I got to try the R5, which is from the Racer IPA, the S release from the Stout, and the Doubled and Twisted, which has 6 different roasts and
Yeah.
hosts in there, and two different cast types in there: the New Oak and the
Oh,
Used
the
French.
the doubled and twisted. I think you got lot three, and it
Yes.
has 6 different lots of whiskeys barrel aging all different times, all
Hmm.
blended together and combined to make a 20 barrel blend.
Yeah, it's stuff from 2010, 2011, 2015 in there, uh, and
13 and 17 as well. So
yeah, 13,
single
17.
malt,
Yeah.
2 different IPAs, Czech Pilsner. Yeah, so there's single malt from, I believe it was 2012. Uh, there was stout from 2011. There was 2013, 2017 IPA, and 2015 Czech Pilsner in there. So it is extremely complex, and I wish I had a million gallons of that.
I I was surprised by all of them. I have tried not a lot. I mean, there aren't a lot of hop flavored or hopped whiskeys in
Yeah.
general in the U.S. And I'm going to generalize this because I really don't know how many there are, but sometimes it feels like they're more gimmicky than really going for flavor.
Yeah.
And I I wasn't quite sure what to expect because I make it a point not to really look at too many details before I try something because I don't want it to, like, I don't look at tasting notes because I don't want it to, you know,
Yeah.
incept me. Uh, but at the same time, I'm like, the only hopped whiskeys I've had are haven't been great. One was downright terrible, but the others have been kind of eh.
The
And then
things you put yourself through, David.
you never know.
Yeah.
Uh, but I did know, like, I knew that I loved Racer 5 IPA. I'm a big
Yeah.
West Coast IPA guy. I love the, really piney, hoppy notes in there. Um, I was not a big stout person.
Mm.
And that was the one that caught me the most off guard because I tried the R5 first, loved it. Uh, and then I tried the S and I was like, am I going to like this? Not liking stouts usually.
Mm.
And then I tried it and I was like, this is better than the R5. And the R5 was already really, really good. So this is opening my eyes to this because you're just like some of the other brands that started out in the early 80s, and didn't, start whiskey a little bit later. You're the OGs, but not necessarily as well known. as I feel like you should be in with the quality of spirits that you guys are putting out. You know,
Mike, thank you.
so with before we get to the whiskeys themselves, I wanted to ask you about the stills. As I say, they're double distilled, Charente pot stills, Alembics, and the question that came to mind just now was, with your family having distilled for so long in Serbia and near the Hungarian border, I was these are French Charente Alembic stills. Did you have to was the still that was being used in your family, or the still type being used in your family, at all similar to that, or was it a real shift in distillation style or technique when you moved to these stills?
This one was definitely bigger. This one's a 2,500 liter still, and so it requires some serious tanks and stuff. I mean, my family came from a village,
Mm.
and they had a distillery, real restaurant, little hotel kind of triplex, and it was very successful for that area of the world. And they had alembics because that copper pot still is the way to go with an alembic. And column stills were not really around, or available. They were probably um, super expensive as well, and just wasn't just that's not what they used. So they used copper alembic pot stills, and they double distill because you have to. There's not enough rectification in an alembic bulb that sits on top of the pot to rectify high enough to come out and make 140 proof on a single pass. Plus, the quality is not the quality is different in a single pass than a double distillation with a Charente cognac still. So the type of still, alembic, yeah, was the same. The size, way bigger once we moved here. Once my dad started Charbay here, and but the concept is the same. You have to do 7 fractions, and it's a double distillation.
And with your own history too, this was a question that came from way back in 2018 when you were on Heads and Tails podcast. But it was one that I really liked, so I'm going to bring it up again, which was being the 13th generation of something. There is, I see from the outside, there's this pressure of, do I really want to do this versus the, do I have to do this because otherwise it stops. And being 13th generation, you don't want it to end there, you know. But I think I was reading on Charbay's website that you initially went to UC Davis for physical therapy, right?
Yeah, I played football in high school and tweaked my shoulder one game, and then went to physical therapy for it, and it healed. It fixed. It got fixed, and I thought that was the coolest thing. And so I was like, huh, I want to be a physical therapist, because it was in the early 80s, um and through high school it was strictly my mom, dad, my sister and I, just going for it and making products and selling products. And I can remember when it was super slow in January, and hey, we'd lock the door and my parents would go travel, and I would watch the shop, And so, uh, yeah, so I wanted to, because I was learning from my dad, who's 12th generation master distiller, heavily trained in organic chemistry and stuff. And when you learn from a master, it's not like learning from a teacher. He's not really wasn't really teaching me about this. He was going molecular with everything for sure, but it was just expected to be done, exactly the way he envisioned it and how he wanted things done. And we could all do a math equation, a math problem, and come up with the solution in many different ways, but we all do things a little bit different. And so it was a challenge for sure, but I loved it. You either like it or you don't. And I liked it a lot, and I stuck with it. And here we are today.
Was there kind of a contingency plan if you decided that you wanted to stick with physical therapy as the career? Was your sister
Well,
ready to step in and take
yeah,
over?
not really. So I went to school at UC Davis, and you know, about halfway through, three-quarter of the way through the year, my dad was like, "Hey, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna go off and do this, or are you gonna come back and work in the distillery with us?" I said, "Well, um, I want to run the still. I want to do this. I gotta get paid. I'm not gonna be 40, living under your roof. Neither of us is gonna want that to happen." And so he's like, "Oh, we'll figure that out." I'm like, "Oh, okay, we'll figure that out." So I finished that year and then came back and went to work, and then, you know, 3, 4 years later, I started getting paid, and it was working out. We were making products, we were making some money and making a living, and away we go.
Love it.
So yeah.
N-
So my idea of being an international physical therapist, traveling somewhere in the planet for like 6 months and then moving on and going somewhere else for 6 months, 8 months, 2 months, whatever, never really, never materialized, but that's okay. I went back, came back to the distillery, and just went to work, learning and doing it.
Hey, nothing wrong with it either way. But
Yeah.
and we should say with 13 generations, the Beams and the Russells and all those families in Kentucky that have had 8 or 9 generations now. Uh, you're beating them by about a couple decades at least.
Yeah, but I
And
mean, it's no real comparison. I mean, those guys have made millions of gallons, and
yeah,
massive technology and monster distilleries. So it's a whole nother world.
it is. But
But yeah,
I like the parallels of the in certain industries and certain companies within this industry. There's the father to son, the father to nephew, uncle, whatever it may be, depending on the generation. And just for people listening, I'm not intentionally leaving out father or mother to daughter or anything like that. That's just factually more recent that has been happening. Glad it's happening, but I'm not purposely leaving out just to leave it out. Uh, so you were saying that when you were learning all of this and scrubbing the inside of the stills as early as 10, uh, did you? Because I've never had an opportunity to ask the other families this kind of question, which is, did you get the feeling in those moments of teaching and passing on the knowledge that he had obtained over those years as a master distiller? Was it How was he balancing kind of the dad versus the distiller teaching the next generation?
oh, 100% dad. Just get in there and do it, and just do this, do that, clean this, do that. Just full board. Just go ahead and do it all, and just you know you've got a lot to learn, so better start right now and let's go.
Gosh, and I think
Yeah.
if I've heard right on other episodes, because otherwise it's going to sound really creepy, that your one of your sons is going to be in his teens now, right?
He is already. Yeah,
Yeah,
Miles, our first son, he's 14.
yeah. So again, that came from a previous podcast that was not creeping at all. But have you got him working cleaning in the stills yet?
I have him working and learning about the still. And when he was a little kid, little guy, he learned quick about what heads, hearts, and tails were. He learned the knobs on the throttle of the still. Loves the bottling line. Our youngest son, Ivan, he just turned 9. He loves the forklift, and Miles can work, on the bottling line all day, and so he's learning that. And there's a lot to learn, and yeah, they're in it. It's there's a lot to do, and they have school all the time too. So, but they're in it, and I don't know. Hey, are they going to stay with it? I hope so. I mean, we have equipment now. We've got stills. We've got barrels of inventory. We've got customers. We have distributors. We have products, and and so it would be awesome. So we'll see.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, you never know, but when you have the opportunity for, I would imagine at some point they're going to have that same internal monologue of, all right, one of us is going to be the 14th generation.
yeah,
Yeah. And then they, as you said, they've got to then not just be a distiller, but earn the master distiller title.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
you've said
my
it,
the
you
definition is the ability to meet your instructor, or excel, and make something better than your instructor. And then my dad said, on top of that, you got to release a product that the family had never released before, to sell as well. So yeah, you can make it, but you got to sell it too. So that by that time, I like I was into making whiskey. Most my family never made whiskey before. And so I bought a batch of beer from a local microbrewery here up in Mendocino County, and double distilled it, and treated it as an eau de vie. So most eau de vies are made from wine or fruit wines like raspberries, comes to mind. We've done Black Mission Fig too. That's a beast. Um, and so I treated this double IPA as an eau de vie, and aged it in stainless, double distilled it and aged it in stainless for 5 years to let it integrate. Then I bottled it, and that was the year 2010. And we entered it into the Ultimate Spirits Challenge in New York from Paul Packelt.
another previous
And
podcast guest. So,
and it took the highest rating of any clear or brown whiskey, of the year. And so like, hey, I think we just crushed this. And I told my dad, hey, we did, we just got the highest rating of all clear whiskeys, moonshines, and barrel aged whiskeys at the Ultimate Spirits Challenge in New York. He's like, well, I know it's good. Like, hey, man. I'm just telling you, someone else likes it too. It was malty and real spicy from the hops. It was super good. And he's like slapped me on the back of the shoulder, like, "Congratulations, you're a goddamn master distiller. Let's drink some and smoke cigars." I'm like, hell yeah. So, it took me 27 years to finally get the pat on the back. There you go. You're 13th generation master distiller. So it's I want to show my boys every single thing about the whole business that I've learned. And I'm proud of it. It's a hell of a ride. And from starting out with absolutely zero to where we are today. We have no loans, no investors, and we own everything. And it's a good feeling. Proud of it.
absolutely. And again, going back to how we opened this podcast, that it's a tough time right now, and to see someone, hear someone being like, "We're in a good position right now. No, no loans, no investors. We answer to ourselves." It seems to be the best place to be right now.
Oh man. Well, that's where we're at right now. it was some scary times when COVID shut everything down and sheltered in place and no restaurants open and no, which means because we're 100% reliable on three-tier system, and we couldn't do cocktails to go. We can't do retail direct or anything. We're strictly, we sell to distributors, and distributors sell wholesale to stores and bars. And so, with everybody shut down, there were no purchase orders coming in, no product going out, bills coming in hot and expected to be paid on time, with the income not coming in. So, fortunately, we uh, we read the news and found out that we could make hand sanitizer, and there was a shortage of high proof alcohol globally. And I told Jenny, like, we can make hand sanitizer. We've got like 6,000 gallons of high proof. Uh, she's like, we're not making fucking hand sanitizer. I'm like, yes, we are. And so we, she and I developed a brand in 9 days, got labels designed, printed, and then we had a hard time of getting packaging for hand sanitizer, plastic, because we never used plastic. And there was a shortage of plastic everywhere globally because that one super freighter jackknifed in the strait, and it just plugged up all global shipping, and everybody was back ordered or out of stock of all things. But we made it happen. We're buying plastic this, plastic that. Other distilleries heard about the hand sanitizer, didn't have high proof. We did, and so we made that. And I was filling totes and shipping 20 totes to other distilleries so they could bottle and make hand sanitizer, for their community and to make income during these dark months. And so, it it was it saved the day. That was nuts.
But I mean, this podcast started in April of 21. So it
Oh yeah.
was, after the first wave of conversions to hand sanitizer. Uh, I don't remember at that point if a lot of distilleries were still making the sanitizer or if the kind of original
It
makers had caught
as
up yet.
fast as fast as it blew up,
Yeah.
it went straight down because then the big boys finally got a grip
Right.
and continued business as usual. And that was a trip too, because it was like now you should ramp it up, ramp it up, ramp it up, ramp it up, ramp it up. Okay, we got everything in stock, and then now it's trying to push it out, and then all of a sudden sales just go, but it's done. Crisis over.
Right.
So we made fantastic hand sanitizer. Yeah, we should have, no one that I knew had a competition on hand sanitizers, but I think we would have crushed it because it was so clean. You just put it on, it didn't stink like bad alcohol. We were using Charbay, and it was just like you put it on and be like, it's all nice and clean, not greasy or anything. It was pro.
Uh,
So,
fair enough. I want to
anyway,
go back to this idea in California. You can't sell DTC. It's all three tier. Um, is that is
frustrating.
that well, it's certainly frustrating, but is that like writ large everybody regardless of size?
No, it's uh you need to get a Type 74, which the Type 74 craft license for California just came around, I think, like, I don't know, 5 years ago or something like that. I don't remember. But we never qualified because we were doing contract bottling and we were importing tequila and we're doing this and we're doing that. And those all were like strikes against the qualifications for a micro distillery, craft spirits, craft distillery. And it was really frustrating because I'm the one running the still 24 hours a day.
Mhm.
We're a team of six people now. Used to be four, then it turned into five, now it's six. And when we're bottling, I'm in the middle of the bottling line. it's not like we have like 17 people or 2,000 people, doing this. And it's like, I think we're still pretty crafty and we don't qualify. And it's just not fair, David. It's
I,
just not.
yeah, it doesn't.
Wah.
Yeah, it doesn't it doesn't
You
make
know?
sense to me at all. I understand how on paper, yeah, the imports and all that, like on paper,
Yeah.
fine, but if you're looking at what actually is happening there,
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense. Uh, but
We're making less products, here than what we're doing by contract bottling and shipping it out. That's not even our product. We're importing tequila that's fantastic as Tapatio, and we're selling that. But we're still making a very little amount here at Charbay of our vodkas and our whiskeys and rum sometimes and brandy. But we just never qualified. So I'm working on it now. I've got a grip on what we have to do to maybe break up some of the licenses and just make it so that Charbay is this little entity, and then another entity controls the import and the contract bottling. And just there's a way to do it, and now it's time to do it because goddamn, it's like they just passed laws so that other distilleries from out of state can get a permit and sell retail direct to customers in the state of California. And I'm like, and I can't, you know,
yeah, and hey, my state, I'm in New York. My state was front and center in that fight.
very,
Uh,
very, New York was very progressive in their laws for, you know, being able to distill apples and stuff that grows in New York and put it in your trunk and park it right next to someone selling pumpkins at the farmer's market, and you're selling bottles right out of the trunk of your car legally. That's
mhm.
sweet. Good
Yep.
for New York. That's cool. You know,
We got to make it happen in
I've been
California,
jealous
though.
ever since it happened. I'm like, God damn it, that's not fair. Oh well,
Yeah.
that's okay.
And
Yeah.
would you say, with volume wise, it sounds to me like the contract work and certainly the Tapatio is a huge brand, but the contract work material in particular is a big part of the business. What kind of volume are you putting out that's just Charbay product?
Super small. The doubled and twisted, for example, was a 20 barrel blend. It's not like we're banging that out every year, you know. The stout was a 10 barrel release, and we're on the second release, from 2010, 2011 when we started stouts. R5, we've done six releases, and we're on our I don't know which sample you got. I think it was R5 final release,
I think
which
so.
was or release five, lot five, or something like that. But
Of course, I didn't note that down. Uh,
yeah, probably final release because we've been out of lot five for a long time. And so that was, that's the sixth release. So that was 6 year barrel aged Racer 5 IPA whiskey, and that's a 10 barrel release because I like to doing 10 barrel releases because that was an exact lot from 10 or from a tanker of 6,500 gallons. We would make 10 to 12 barrels of whiskey. So, once it had enough barrel aging time to it to release it, then there you go. And then we don't release another release until necessity, and then we bottle more. So, the libraries, the barrels are, aging, and some are getting pulled, some are getting older. And now we have a really nice collection of some crazy whiskeys. We just bottled some Hop Rod Rye from Bear Republic, and that's some tasty stuff too. We're starting to sell that. Barrel clubs. So to get back to your question, I mean, it's very small. I mean, maybe 2,000 cases and stuff a year. With the vodka, maybe 4,000 cases, 5,000 cases. Yeah, maybe like 5,000 cases a year, something like that.
all right, so yeah, I
Um,
mean that's to me that's definition micro distillery right there. That's
sure
that.
feels like it, David.
Yeah.
You
Uh,
know?
so I have to ask though. You said you've been out of the R5 for a while. With
Yeah.
is final lot to be taken as like that's the last one that's going to be made?
That's the well, Racer 5, they sold and they stopped production in their Cloverdale facility, and then it went to another brewery in the Bay Area, and so that was just kind of well, it's done. So I still have Racer 5 IPA whiskeys in the barrel that I'm using for other projects like Doubled and Twisted. It's a big component of it. But as far as releasing it as a uh, straight release of just Racer 5 R5 whiskey in the bottle, that's the last one.
Damn, it's a shame. It's
You know,
it's really so good that it's a shame. I
that's
understand
okay.
it, but
You know. So what's plan B? If your brewery that you're getting contracted tankers out of goes away. Well, fortunately, there's another fantastic brewery over here as well. It's in Mendocino County, and it's called North Coast Brewery over in Fort Bragg. It's about an hour away, and they make my favorite stout as well. They make Old Rasputin stout,
mm,
and it's very tasty. And they have technology there that they can pulverize grain and run it through a grist press. I call it a Lees filter, and really extract everything and not jam up a lauter ton.
mhm.
So it enables them to be able to take corn, and it enables them to take rye and make 100% rye and different combos and make some really um, cool mash bills for me. So, um, looking forward to starting up working with them next time we do some runs of whiskey. So, stay
Love it.
tuned on those. It's
Yeah.
going to be fun. I think I'm going to focus on Czech Pilsner because for the past 25 years, 24 years. People have been loving it, and we've made it in the past. We have some 2015s, and we have some 2017s Czech Pilsners. And then we've been making single malt here and there, but never released a single barrel of the single malt just isolated by itself because we put it into the D&T blend.
Mhm.
We're going to release some of those. Single malts we have some from 2012. And so they're ready. And then Jenny wanted to make some bourbon because, selling hop flavored whiskey, it's a lot of education. It's just like,
Sure.
what is it? What do you do with it? And what do you do with it? And so there's so many different layers of the sales, that take place because you get to work with your distributor, you got to sell it to them,
Mhm.
educate all the different layers of the distributor, and then restaurant owners, uh spirits purchasers, bar managers, bartenders, servers, like 9 layers if you really count it up. You have to educate, on your product. So, but when you have a bourbon, people know what bourbon is.
Mhm.
It's like selling wine. It's like selling Chardonnay. Everyone knows what Chardonnay is like. Let me taste it. It's like, oh, that's a good Chardonnay. I like the package. How much is it? Done. Okay. You know. And so we contracted to make a 52% corn, 48% two-row malted barley beer.
Mhm.
Bourbon mash bill beer, and then I distilled it. And I like making 140 proof. It just to me, it's just that's a great spot. My still likes making 140, 145, 146, 138 to 146 is like a sweet zone for me. And this stuff was this bourbon that we made was just so good right there that I'm like, I am not diluting this and putting it in at less than 125 proof as, required.
Mhm.
And I didn't. So we let it age for a while, and then Jenny's like, "What's up with the bourbon?" I'm like, "Well, uh, Jenny, I looked at the regs again one more time, and I'm really sorry, but we can't call that whiskey bourbon." And she was upset for about days with me on that one. And so we get to call it whiskey distilled from bourbon mash, or we just get to call it whiskey. So I promised her that I will make a tanker. I'll get a tanker of 5248 made for us, and then I'll distill it and I'll put it in a brand new barrel at 125 proof, and we'll be able to have some bourbon finally. So I'm looking forward to doing that because it was fun and it was different and it tastes really good. And so I'm gonna do more Pilsner, bourbon, some single malt. And you got to choose your battles too, and so making the things that we have a track record with makes sense to me. And, you know,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that's plenty of products to make. And then here comes, it's December almost, there it is. And it's citrus season here in California. And so here's the next, this will be the 28th vintage of fresh picked fruit flavored vodkas. So we only pick the fruit in January, February, March, at the peak of the season for blood oranges and Meyer lemons, and we used to do Texas Rio Star Ruby Reds. They're so good. So here that comes, and then and then by then it's spring, and so we got we got plenty to do.
for sure.
It's exciting.
With the and I understand Jenny's perspective of wanting to have a bourbon. We've had a lot of guests on who maybe they focus on single malt or even they focus on rye and elevating other spirits, let's say, other whiskeys. And a lot of them will say, but we make a bourbon because that's what sells the most. It's what keeps the lights on. So I get it.
Nothing wrong with
No, nothing wrong with it. But I guess you're also in a unique and good position in that because you have the other aspects of the business, other spirits, you don't have to have the bourbon to keep the
no.
lights on.
No, I want to showcase my style of bourbon.
Sure.
It will be different. It has no choice but to be different than everything out there, just by, what we're using, how we're making the beer, what still we're using, the barrels that we're using, everything that we're using, it's tasty stuff too.
Yeah. And
So
I
I
just
look forward to it.
I just thought of this too. I'm just throwing this in there for some context. So recently we talked to a bunch of English distilleries,
Oh,
and it's kind of a non sequitur, but I wanted to say before it left my head, which was that you said like you don't have a fermenters or anything like that. The beer is coming in from your partners, ready to distill, ready to bottle, ready to distill, and I'm just remembering the English distilleries are going through this right now with their geographical indication, where some, like the Scotch Whisky Association, are saying, well, if you don't brew on site and make your own beer, you can't be called a whiskey. Like you can't have it brought in from anywhere else or anything like that. And here, and I think that's a specious argument to begin with anyway. Like it's complete bullshit. But here, it's not a problem. You have a great set of beers that are now changing, some of them, but a great set of beers. You like it, you distill it. And nobody bats an eye about the fact that, okay, so they didn't make it. So what?
yeah.
Who cares? So I just want
Let
to
the
throw that in there
pros
for
do what the
context.
pros do, you
Yeah,
know?
exactly. If they're making better beer than you think you can make, then let them make the beer and you'll make a better spirit than they can make.
And I can't, being the size, I can't make a gallon of beer at the same price point as a fully set up brewery does that has silos and, a full on team and everything. So, as far as costs go, yeah, it's more expensive to do it this way. But at the same time, you know, I don't have to brew the beer.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to throw you for a loop a little bit here. I'm going to go back to super early interview. This was Whiskey Cast episode 179. So we're talking December of 2008. Mark at Whiskey Cast just celebrated his 20th anniversary earlier, a couple months
Oh,
ago. And this was the end of year 3 of him doing the podcast. So it's been a long time since then.
yeah.
Uh, so the first thing I'll say is that the ideas and principles, if you will, that you espoused back then are exactly what you're saying now. So the through line has not changed, and I love that. It's the same idea. If whiskey's distilled from beer, use a beer you like. The hops are adding this, as you were saying, the floral spice, especially when they're really concentrated after distilling. Um, now, other something else I wanted to ask. Oh, sorry, and that you were making at that point. This is 2008. You were making a rye beer whiskey made from a rye beer that you could buy off the shelf.
2008. Uh that was well 2008 was right when we were doing trials with different Bear Republic beers and making real small batches and the Hop Rod Rye, I
Mhm.
believe that's the one.
Yeah,
And then let's see what else. What other beers did we distill in that trial era right there? Hop Rod Rye. Um, I'm trying to blank on the name of it. NorCal Bitter.
mm-hmm.
Super good, super tasty beer. Yeah, we distilled some of that too. Yeah.
Yeah. It's well, and I think it comes full circle because again, you're trying
And
the
we
rye beer again,
did it in 17 as well.
right? So it comes back around,
Yeah.
and the I think the other thing, and you'll have to tell me if you're still doing this or not. You and I share that we don't like over oaked whiskey. You don't want to be having wood chips in your mouth or like
Hmm.
licking a stave.
Hmm.
So you do age in sometimes a new American oak, sometimes in used barrels, use French oak with 59 gallon, as you were saying. Uh, the one of the first releases that you did was 6 years in oak, and then 3 years in stainless. And you've also had whiskey aged in glass at different times. And I say age. I'm using that term loosely because I don't know how the regulations work on that. But once it's out of the barrel, but the point being that it's going from a barrel and then into an inert container for some amount of time before it's going to the bottle. Right.
Yep.
And yeah, in a couple of years, not just like a month or two for mellowing or melding, a couple of years. Uh, is that something that you're still doing?
Yeah, I love doing that. That's double aging. When you either go stainless first and then barrel second. Like for example, our '05 rum. We distilled sugarcane from Maui and uh, we put it in stainless for 5 years because my dad wanted to have a clear rum. But I'm like, hey man, there's no one's buying $85 bottles of clear rum, even though we got 100 points on it, and it was Paul Picolfin loves it, you
Mm-hmm.
know that's great, but let's barrel age it and make some barrel aged rum and really you know turn it into add another layer of flavor by barrel aging it. And so we aged that for 3 years. After 5 years, And one day it just tasted like magic, and it was so brilliantly clear because of the double aging. I didn't filter it or anything, and to this day, that lot is still it's like the clearest, cleanest distillate in the bottle ever. It's really cool. The Czech Pilsner from '99, like the original Czech Pilsner, we some most of it we barrel aged for 6 years, and then we took some and diluted it to 110 proof and put it into stainless for uh 6 years. So it was six in the barrel, six in stainless, and we bottled that. So that was release two. And then uh release three was 6 years in the barrel, 8 years in stainless at full barrel strength. And that was release three, and that was the biggest release of all of those that we did. And then release four was I think four was Laws, like LA Whiskey Society came over, and they're like, well, no one really knows what hop flavored whiskey is, so this is tasting really good, but I think we're just gonna do like a half a barrel. I'm like, come on, Adam, you can do a whole barrel, man. It's like, oh, we're just gonna do half. I'm like, okay. So we bottled up half a barrel for them and turned into Law's Whiskey One, first release, I think, of theirs. And then I let the rest of that barrel age, and then we released that as four, and then there was five and six, and six was a full 16-year barrel aged version. And in the very beginning, uh, Joe Montana was buying our whiskey one, and at that time I was the distributor, so I started Marko Case Spirits distributing. My mom and dad owned the license to distill, and I started my own business, so I was buying my own Charbay from my mom and dad and selling up and down the state. And I'd miss Joe like twice, like. I'd go to the store doing delivery and like, hey, Joe just bought a bottle of your whiskey. I'm like, ah, damn it, man. Tell him I said hi, tell him to come up to the distillery or do something to help me. And then, like a week later, I go to another store. I'm doing deliveries. Like, hey, Joe just bought another bottle of your whiskey, and I'm like, oh my God, can you tell him I said hi? What's up? And never connected, unfortunately. But I had barrel number 16 of all of those barrels that was aging away that didn't go through double aging, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna save this for Joe because I know one of these days he's gonna want to buy a barrel. But it never worked out. But that was barrel or that was lot release number six, and it was only like 12 cases or something by that time. It was full barrel strength, uncut, unfiltered, and it just it vaporized out in like 9 minutes. Uh, but yeah, I like doing different releases like that. It's from one lot. It's just each lot is completely a different expression. I love doing barrel aging and then aging in stainless to allow the spirit to integrate all of that oak that it collected, through its barrel aging regime, and let all the flavors line up in their own unique pattern, you know, and that takes time. And if you don't do that, then you got to wait for it to do that in the bottle because a lot of people are like, oh, nothing changes in the bottle, once you put it in the bottle. And I know for a fact that things change in the bottle. We're all in this ride together, man. We're all going through time, and everything is changing. How much things are progressing and integrating and changing, that's a different story, but things are changing so much to the point that we were at a tasting one year, and I was pouring the clear rum, and this guy said, I don't want tequila. I wanted to try your rum. I'm like, what are you talking about, man? And it's like, this totally tastes like tequila. I'm like, Well, I know for a fact that I didn't bottle tequila in my rum bottles. And so I poured one and I tried it. Son of a bitch. This what it tasted just like really, really cool, really good Blanco tequila. It lost its tropical uh sugar cane vibe to it, and it went herbaceous. And then how about yeah, I don't know. That was my man, you were totally right. This does taste like tequila, but it's not. It's rum. It's just one part of its life that's, it's bottle aging away. And then I went back to it, and then, I went back to that rum about 4 months later, 5 months later, and it snapped back to that luscious Maui sugar cane again. So that proved to me personally that things evolve, things, flavor profiles changing, through the bottle aging period of time. It might not happen as much later in the life of the bottle of spirits, but in the first 1 to 10 years, if you have a super complex whiskey or rum or spirit or whatever you have, if it's got a lot of complexity from both distillate and barrel regime, and you put it all together in a bottle, you know, it's not used to that pressure. It's got to get used to that pressure, and then it's going to evolve. And little by little later in the bottle aging, it's going to taper off. You're not going to see as much change. And then way later, it's going to start falling apart because it's just, it's just it's not going to it's not going to be a 5, 7, 10 year old for the rest of its life. It's gonna be evolving.
When you're aging something in let's say not a barrel, so in stainless and in
Stainless, yeah.
glass, in stainless. So are you are you putting or allowing much headspace in there? Or are you filling it pretty completely?
I filled it up full for a
Mm.
small headspace, and ultimately you could pump argon into the top of it as well, and just really, seal it up. But that's it. You just lock it down and put it in the corner and put something in front of it and just forget about it and just do go on with something else.
So you're really mimicking the environment of a bottle where it's sealed
Yeah,
off. There's that little bit of air at the top just for practicality,
yeah.
um, and there's no more. I'm thinking like what happens to it chemically. So there's really little to no oxidation at that point. It's all
Low oxidation, but all
yeah.
the flavors, all the essential oils of all the different compounds that have been collected through time, and all the color and barrel aging flavors, everything has its own peak flavor profile, and they all have to come together and then line up, and then they turn into like this chain of flavor that just gets longer and longer and longer and longer, depending on the how you distill that distillate. I like to distill products with a ton of body that has a lot of flavor, super long finish, but clean at the same time. It can't be heady. It can't be too much in the tails. It can't be unbalanced. Otherwise, it just drives me nuts. And it's got to be clean. But you got to know, is this going to work? You got to make it so that that it's gonna have that balance even after bottle barrel aging down the
Mm-hmm.
road. All the cuts, it just comes down to the cuts,
Mm-hmm.
and depending on what you're going to do with this product, you just have to just takes time running the still to acquire a kind of a style of distillation.
With let's see. So there's again. I'm been fascinated. I continue to be fascinated with you guys because of what you've done, and in the smallest batches, you're still getting such a new and unusual profile. The I'm gonna have to stock up on the R5 for what I can find, um, and so the R5. Well, this could have been a different batch. Uh, when you're back on Heads and Tails, this is again 2018, so it's a while ago. But uh, the the R5 went in at 140 proof in used French oak that it had Chardonnay in it,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Did that has that kind of continued as the one of the profiles for R5, or is that also variable by batch?
That was, um, pretty much stayed right around there because that's the zone. That's what I really that's just the sweet spot for me. 138 to like 147 proof. Um, and my dad always said, your mood running the still will
Mm-hmm.
affect the outcome too. If you've been running 10 days straight, 24 hours a day, and you're sleeping like maybe 4 hours a day, maybe. And things are going on, your life is going on, and this and that. Are you going to be, patient enough to wait for it, wait for this, wait for that? Is it good right now? What do you want to do? I mean, it's just that there's so many other variables that come into play to making those cuts. But for me, yeah, I like that 140, 143, 144 zone right there. So I'll continue doing it that way.
And by nature of how you're both how you're distilling, how you're aging, the entry proof, as Jenny found out, and as you said was upset with you for a while about. Um, so it does fall into a different category in the whiskey regulations.
Uh-huh.
Uh, has you're still, I mean, like you said, you're still able to call it whiskey or distilled from a bourbon mash
Yeah.
for that one particular product, or hopped whiskey, which wasn't a category until you guys created it. Um, have you ever faced a challenge in, uh, let's say, getting someone to try it because it's either a distilled spirit specialty or a different type of whiskey?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Everyone has some hesitation if they don't know what they're doing, or if they don't know what they're trying. And especially if they know what they like and they want to see a different version of what they like, and then it's something that's totally different. There's hesitation every single time.
Mm-hmm.
And then you talk to people they're like, "Oh, I don't like hoppy beer." I'm like, "Well, this is whiskey distilled from hoppy beer, and the flavors of the top notes of the hops are there, and the malt's there. And then we barrel age it and everything. And it's not like drinking a beer."
Mm-hmm.
And then they try it, and they're like, "Oh, I do like this better than an IPA because I don't like IPAs." I'm like, "Hey, there you go. It's fine. It's like nobody else, like I was saying earlier, nobody else is bottling the beer that they're distilling, you know. You don't really drink that beer that goes into the still in Scotland, you know.
Yeah.
It's not really designed to be consumed, you know, like that. It's meant to be smoked out, dried out by smoking it, and that flavor imparts, unique flavors in Scotch. And they get that beer and they get it done and they put it in the still and then they put it in barrel. There you go. And
Yeah.
so there's hesitation for sure every time, but that's okay. It's it is what it is. And so that's why we're going to continue doing it and also doing single malt and doing once in a while making batches of bourbon too. It's like, here's my version of bourbon, here's my version of a rye. I look forward to doing that too. You know.
Yeah. With I gotta ask, with the single malts. I mean, first off, is it going to fit the new regulations of American single malt?
Oh, totally.
Cool.
Yeah.
And
Two
I
row
figured,
malted barley, and it's in a barrel that's less than what, 700 liters or something like that.
yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
There you go.
They're pretty wide regulations, but figured I would ask just to make sure.
It's pretty
Uh,
awesome.
I
It's
I think there's only been like one or two companies that have been very vocal about the regulations not including them or not working with what they've got. But for the most part, it's pretty wide. So
Boy, I don't know how that would be. I'd have to sit down and really think about how you don't qualify making a single malt an American single malt. You can use used barrels.
I think one of them came down to, and I'm purposely not naming names, but one of them came down to wanting to make a single malt that was not, it was not 100% uh, malted, or is not 100% same distillery. Like they wanted to mix malts or malted and unmalted. Uh, and I think their argument was that, this is, we're
Oh,
making an American style.
they wanted green grain
Right.
and malted grain. Well, then yeah, doesn't qualify.
Right.
So call it
Um,
something else, you
yeah.
know, deal with it.
Right. And so the other question then is, since it hasn't come out yet as a standalone product, how would you preview the profile of Charbay single malt?
Well, it's two-row barley from British Columbia and mostly used French oak Chardonnay fill. And so there's going to be it has a lot of body. Um, there's a lot of malt. It's all malt. I mean, there's no hops. There's nothing else. There's nothing else competing, with the flavor profile like the hops do. So it's just really, really, really a refined, full-bodied, full solid flavor profile of single malt.
Mhm. I love it. You have
Yeah,
a preview
it's
for
tasty.
us on when you want that to come out, or is it kind of waiting for when it's ready?
I think next year is going to be an exciting year for Charbet batches of whiskey to be bottled and released. Because that single malt that I'm talking about is from 2012, and uh, it's ready. And then we actually have some 19s that are already 6 years barrel aged, and those are tasting really good too. Um, so we'll probably end up doing, make a 4 barrel release of this, and some of the hot rod rye. We just released 2 barrels of that to a club, and we'll probably put a couple more of those in barrel for Charbet. So it's gonna be a fun year of whiskey releases here.
Love it. Well,
Yeah,
put me down for at least a bottle of the single malt when it comes out. I will be glad to,
thank you.
because I love American single malt, what they're doing, and clearly I love what you guys are doing. So I trust you that you will be making a good single malt to share with us. So with that, Marco, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you also to Jenny for facilitating this and sharing product with me to taste.
Thank
Um,
you. Welcome.
and hang on with me for just a minute after we finish the recording. This has been another episode of the Whiskey Ring Podcast. There'll be episodes, excuse me, not episodes, what am I saying? Notes in the show notes for where you can follow Charbay, where you can find them if you're in California or around the country, distribution points, and where you can buy. And definitely want to follow them so you can make sure you know when that single malt comes out, when the new releases come out, and just when when you want a new product from a really good micro distillery, great micro distillery up in Northern California. Thanks everyone for listening. I'll see y'all next week.